Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Mary and I give you an extra warm welcome. I would love it if you can click the subscribe button and stay for a while. I upload 3 times a week. Get ready with me, shop my stash, trying on new makeup. If it's beauty and makeup related, I will be posting it. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate you more than you know. So as you could tell from the title of the video, today we are going to talk about face palettes. So I feel like face palettes are either a complete win or a complete waste because they either work for you or they don't. We are going to talk about all of the face palettes that I own, what I like, what I dislike, and the ones that have been launched that I have actually truly enjoyed and wish they were launched again if they were no longer available. If that sounds like a video that you would like to see, then just go ahead and keep on watching. All right, my lovelies, hair is pulled back. I do have some makeup on my face. I look a little pale. For primers, I went into the Ordinary Milky Toner, the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum, and the Denisa Meyer Exfoliant Powder for my T-Zone. RMS Foundation in shade 33. Cali Ray Under Eye Brightener in Golden Hour. And I did set just the concealer or under eye brightener with the Makeup Forever pressed powder. I divided all of my face palette into 3 different categories. The first one is eye and face, which means there's products in the only 2 palettes that I own that are for the eyes and the face. And of course, as I keep saying, is a palette that is meant for your face and also has products for your eyes. A duo face palette, which means there's only 2 different beauty products in there. It could be blush or bronzer, or say bronzer or highlighter, whatever. It's a duo face palette. And then a trio face palette, which means there's 3 different beauty items in there. So blush, bronzer, highlighter, or blush, bronzer, setting powder, whatever the case may be. We are going to start with the face and eye palettes. The Natasha Denona Glam Face palette in particular, because I do want to go into this cream blush. And as you can see, this has for your eyes, so eyeshadows, a highlighter, and a blush. I do enjoy this format. I do know that she has since come out with the newest one, which has shadows, bronzer, and blush. So then that would definitely fall into this category, but I decided to skip that because I didn't need it. So I do enjoy this eye and face palette from Natasha Denona, and I think most of the reason is because everything works for me. She did come out with 2 different colorways for this one, a light, and I have no bronzer or anything. A light or a medium to dark. I have the light one. I'm only gonna jump into the cream blush from this palette. Now, if say one of the shades didn't work for me or more than one, and I have made a video before where I talk about face palettes and how they can actually be a waste of money because you pay a certain amount. I think when these came out, they were $59. Price has gone up since. I felt that was actually a really good price for what you get, but only if and only all of the shades work for you. Because if they don't all work for you, then you're already wasting your money, especially if you're not using at least half of the palette. I just don't think it's worth it if every shade doesn't actually work for you, you know? Okay, so as you can see, that blush looks pretty. Now I will say the formula that she put in this, I feel like it dries down pretty quick. As you can see, I really do have to dig into it. I do enjoy the highlighter. It's very, very pretty. Formula is beautiful. Eyeshadows, you already know Natasha Denona kills it when it comes to eyeshadow formula. So other than the blush drying down fairly quickly, I think this was actually a pretty awesome release. And I wish she would bring something like this back. Okay, now we're going to talk about the other one, which is from Charlotte Tilbury, and this is the Instant Look of Love palette. Pretty Blushed Beauty. I think that's the name of like the colorway, because I believe there was 2 different colorways for this particular launch. My little shimmer came broken. I think out of everything, every face palette that I own, this is my absolute favorite format because you have a powder, you have a bronzer, you have a blush, you have a highlighter, and then you have 3 shades for your eyes. So you can technically do a full face with just this. Now the trick is that every single shade has to work for you. She only came out with 2 different palettes. How is that supposed to fit every single skin tone in the world? It did not. So that was the only downfall about this, but I wish, and I'm begging anyone from Charlotte Tilbury's team, which I doubt they will watch this, but I am begging that they please bring this format back, but maybe provide us with 3, 4, maybe even 5 different palettes for the powder and the bronzer. Reason I'm mentioning this right now is because we are going to use the powder to set the rest of my face, and I believe this is medium, the shade of the powder. It doesn't say, but I want to say it looks like medium because I do own the shade Fair and it's lighter than this. And as you could see, this has been very well loved and used because I did really enjoy it, and I still do. I just haven't picked it up in a while. This is the Sonia G Inoki Pro, and I believe this was $75. So a full face for $75. Crazy, and I love that. Okay, I do feel like this is the loved and adored Charlotte Tilbury airbrush powder formulation. I'm going to do a quick little eye look. I'm going to dip into this one here. Now these shades, they do pull a little bit lighter on the eyelid than they look, so I do have to really build it up, but it's a very beautiful formula. This is the Rougher 01. Okay, I did put on some NYX glitter glue because this one here, it's like that traditional soft metallic, and it's actually lighter than it looks in the pan. Well, from an angle, you could see. It looks almost like a nude goldeny champagne. I feel it looks lighter on the lid than it does in the pan. And I want it to show up a tiny bit more because I remember really having to build this shade up. Okay, and then now with my index finger, I'm jumping in to the shimmer, which is like that typical topper kind of formulation. So it's just beautiful, light sparkle, nothing super intense. Right, this is what the face is looking like. I did go into this shimmer here for my inner corner. And now we're going to talk about the duo face palettes that I own in my collection, which is 3 of them. So the newest Hourglass that they came out with, which sadly no longer available, but I really, really love. So this has, actually, what am I doing? Just kidding. This belongs in the trio because it has bronzer, highlighter, and powder. So scratch this one, it's gonna go in the trio pile. But at least you know that's going to be in this list. Okay, so 2 palettes that are duos. The NARS Cheek palette, so bronzer and blush, and the Charlotte Tilbury Cheek palette. This one has, I mean, you can technically use this as a blush, but I feel like most people look at this and they think that's a highlighter, right? But it's a bronzer and highlighter palette. I think we're gonna use this for a powder bronzer today. I have not picked it up in some time. This is the Nudegasm face palette. I don't think this is available anymore, and I actually do really enjoy this. Everything works for me. The only issue I had when she launched this is that this was the only colorway she came out with, claiming that this is a universal palette, which is not. I know I'm not tan to medium or dark skin toned, but I can clearly look at this and 100% say that this is not a universal palette. Let's apply this on my face. Okay, so I can actually use both of these. If I go really heavy hand, this can look muddy, but I just usually mix the 2. This is the MY14 from the Danessa Myricks and My Kid Co. brush collection. I did see a couple of reviews of darker skin tones using this palette. I don't think it's fair that this, you know, is advertised as a universal palette. So I did enjoy this. I just wish that she would have come out with more shades and maybe made the peachy tone, which I understand. Like, obviously the peachy shimmery shade will look better as a highlighter, somebody who has a medium tan or deep complexion. I don't know, I just feel like if they played with the format, this could be a beautiful, beautiful palette, and then give us, you know, 3, 4, maybe 5 choices. But I do enjoy this. It works for me. That's why I enjoy it. It was $75, so pretty pricey. But if every shade works for you, then, you know, it's worth it. Okay, I think I might add a tiny bit of the NARS bronzer. I do enjoy this. I enjoy this. Okay, there's the bronzer, looking very, very pretty. I'm not going to use the NARS. This is the Summer Unrated Blush and Bronze Duo Face Palette. This is the Laguna shade, and then this is the Orgasm. I do enjoy both of these. I do feel like I really have to build this one up, but it's the older formula. I feel like I enjoy the talc-free formula a tiny bit better. And then this blush here, I do also have to really build it up, but it's a pretty one. I feel like duo face palettes are the most common and probably the most popular, just because it's easier to find one that will 100% work for you. Although I feel like it's very hard because usually you like the bronzer and not the blush, or vice versa. For me, both of these work. I just have to build both of them up quite a bit. And now for the category that I have the most face palettes from, and that is the trio face palettes. Yeah, for somebody who said once that she was not gonna waste her money on face palettes, I have a decent amount, right? So let me, where am I gonna start? Because I feel like these are all good ones that I really enjoy. Why don't we start with the Hourglass ones, which I feel are like the most popular, right? So the newest one is the Ambient Lighting Edit Bronze and Highlight Palette. They came out with 2 different variations. This one, which is bronzer, highlighter, and finishing powder. I enjoy this so much. I've been reaching for this more than I thought I was going to. I don't own too many bronzers from Hourglass, and I think I don't have any of these shades if I remember correctly. Dim Light, Lunar Bronze, maybe one of the finishing powders, but this is a really, really good one. If you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of Hourglass in your collection, well, honestly, you can't get this anymore, so it doesn't even matter, but I'm enjoying this. It made sense for me to purchase it, and I don't regret purchasing this $90 palette. And then these 2, which were part of their holiday collection. So this one, you get blush, highlighter, and bronzer. Technically, since this is not meant for my skin tone, this is blush, highlighter, and finishing powder. But the finishing powder I can use as a bronzer. Very, very pretty. I have definitely enjoyed this quite a bit. Worth the $90. And then the owl, although I think this is the tiger, the snake, and the owl. I'm not 100% sure. So this one does have a bronzer. It has, well, this one here, it's like a finishing powder, but I use it as a highlight. So technically blush, bronzer, highlighter, and bronzer. 4. Yeah. So this one also a really, really good one that I absolutely enjoy. $90. Every shade works perfectly for me. If every shade doesn't work perfectly for you, then I don't think they're worth the splurge. Okay, and the last Hourglass one that I own, this one is for sure a trio. So you got a bronzer, blush, finishing powder, or a very natural highlighter. I enjoy this palette. I do have to really build up the bronzer because, what shade is it? Bronze Light. And this blush, because of how it's marbleized, it's more sheeny than I wish it was, and it's pretty light. So I do also have to really build up this blush. So I feel like this is more appropriate for somebody who doesn't tan all that much, maybe fair to light, but I can make it work by just really building it up. I do feel like this one is a good one to invest in. I think it was $62. I don't remember. Okay, 4 more. And then I'll tell you which ones are my absolute favorites at the end. This one from Vive, 2 blushes, 1 bronzer, and a highlighter. I believe there's only 2 colorways for this. I wish she would provide us with more. Maybe in the future there's going to be a shade extension for these. This is the bronzer, which I do have to build up, and then the 2 blushes, which are very pretty, and the highlighter is also very pretty. Formula in here is beautiful. I enjoy this. I think it's a good face palette because every shade works for me, you know? Don't remember how much this cost, probably like $45 or $50. This Pat McGrath one, all of these shades work for me. So bronzer, blush, highlighter. The highlighter, sometimes when I move, you could really see like a shadow, which means it might be a tiny bit too dark for me, but if I tread softly, it's okay. And the formula from Pat McGrath, especially for blushes, is absolutely beautiful. I do enjoy the bronzer formula, and the main reason I purchased this is because I don't have any of these shades in my collection as individuals, so it made sense. But yeah, it's really nice, especially if you travel. You have 3 products in one palette. So since this one works for me, I actually did take this one for my Houston trip. This one from Pat McGrath I do enjoy, and I don't regret having it in my collection because I've actually traveled with it. Okay, and the last 2 are from Chanel, and yeah, these are both face palettes. Okay, so the first one that I purchased is the eyeshadow and blush palette. Technically, this is for eyes and blush, but I can use this here as a bronzer. And this one is like a very light, typical classical shimmery shade, so I can use this as a highlighter. So I got 2 blushes, a bronzer, and a highlighter, and I love all of these. The formula is perfection. And not only, I guess this should have gone to face and eye. What's wrong with me? So I guess this one should have been in the category of face and eye because you can use the entire thing on your face and also in the eyes, and it looks absolutely beautiful. But I love this. You can tell that I love this. It was what, $90? So definitely worth it. And it's Chanel, you know, like $90 for this, and then the hourglass cost $90. I don't know. I just feel like they did amazing with this, and I wish they would bring this back in other colorways. And last but not least, this one from Chanel, which is the newest launch I think that they did. So blush, bronzer, and highlighter. All of these 3 shades work for me. They came out with 5 different colorways, and they were all spectacular shade choices. So I really have to give it to them for giving us that, because I feel like there was something for just about every skin tone, which is absolutely amazing and a step in the right direction. $90 or $95, I can't remember, but this one, it was perfection. I love it. I've enjoyed it so much. Let me figure out what I'm going to use for my blush and my highlighter, and I'll be right back. All right, I think I'm going to jump into the blush from the Vive palette, and the one I have is Dawn. Actually, now that I think about it, there's 3 colorways now for this palette. Yes, she came out with a 3rd one like a couple of months ago, maybe for the holidays. Okay, yeah, there's 3 different colorways for this face palette. But I mean, you look at this and you look at me and you probably think this wouldn't work, right? I do have to really build it up. So this is the soft cheek, and I'm just gonna jump into both blush shades. They look very similar in shade anyways. I enjoy Vive. I think Vive is a very beautiful, classic kind of brand. I think she does a great job, and she puts a lot of herself into her products. But do you see that? It blurred everything. You see a lot of her things that she has to offer, and you think, oh, there's nothing special. But then you try the product and you're like, whoa, okay, maybe there is something special in this brand. That's the best way I can describe it. Because do you see how beautiful my cheeks are looking right now? And just by looking at the palette, you would not think, right? Okay, I'm gonna jump into the newest Chanel face palette and use the highlighter in here. And then I think I'll use the newest Hourglass palette and use a tiny bit of that finishing powder. This is the MY3 from Dennis Myricks. I know that Chanel, a lot of people, it's not worth it. It's overpriced, but every single item I have purchased from Chanel, I am truly impressed. Yeah, I think it's either for you or it isn't. I think Chanel has definitely been knocking it out of the park lately with what they keep bringing to the table. I feel like Chanel has slowly become a favorite luxury brand But do you see that highlighter? So pretty, natural. Love it. Okay, now I'm going to jump into the Hourglass palette, and these are the two finishing powders in the palette. I'm just going to mix the two, soft light and dim light. This is my Make Beauty Fluffy Big Face Brush, and I'm just going to literally into both pans. And I'm going to show you, which I have done on my channel before, why I fell in love with Hourglass powders in the first place. Because it just brings this like effortless glow from within blurring kind of effect. I mean, my face already looked pretty blurred anyways, but there's just something about Hourglass powders. Okay, let me finish off the rest of my face and then I'll come back and talk about my favorites. I'll do top 3 and which ones I wish would come back. All right, my lovelies, here is the full completed face. I did add a tiny bit of the, I'm jumping into the Nudegasm from Charlotte Tilbury. That shimmery, like peachy blush shade on top of the blush I already had. I have used it on its own, but right now I just decided to add a tiny bit to make it a little bit glowy and not so matte. I can go either way, and I have used this shade as just blush and it has worked for me, but you have to like a glowy blush, you know? So many great face palettes in this video, if you ask me. Let me tell you what else I have on my face. For the brows, I went into the Gucci Brow Pencil Make Beauty Brow Gel. Mascara, I used the Cali Ray Tubing mascara. For the lips, I have on one of the new lip liners from Makeup Forever in the new formulation. The shades aren't different, it's just a new formula in existing shades. I think it's supposed to be a like more matte, longer lasting kind of lip liner, and it's dedicated to the lips. It's not an all over the face, it's like it's a lip liner. Anywhere Caffeine and the lipstick from Skin by Kim in Nude 5. My lips are pretty nude right now. It's been a minute since they've been this nude. I usually have some sort of pinkiness going on, so it looks, for me right now, it looks kind of odd. Okay, but here is the completed face. And I used all face palettes. So that just tells you right there, like, yes, face palette can be where it's at, but only if all of the shades work for you. If not all of the shades work for you, I honestly don't think they're worth the money. With that being said, let's talk about the two that I wish would come back because they are sadly no longer available. First one is from Chanel, which is the eyeshadow and blush palette. Now, technically, this is just a blush and eyeshadow palette, but because it has this nude tone in here, I can use this as a bronzer. I do have to really build it up. I do have to use a pretty dense natural hair fiber brush. But with this palette alone, I have bronzer, highlighter, blushes, and an eye look, you know? So that makes me happy. This format is great. The size of the pans is great. Yeah, I feel like Chanel knocked it out of the park with this, and I'm hoping and praying that they bring something similar to this back because I absolutely love it. I think in some retailers you can still get the other colorway that has the red blush instead of this like burgundy wine shade, but I don't think that one has a tone that you can use as a bronzer, but I still feel like this is perfection. Okay, and now for the other face palette. And I think I just saw Morgan Turner post something about these face palettes that Charlotte Tilbury, I feel for some time, had been bringing them every year. I think when this one came out, the Look of Love was the only year where she did more than one colorway. It's perfect because it has a full face, literally a full face, if every shade works for you. For me, everything worked. The bronzer, I think this is the medium shade. It might be the light. I don't remember, but it works. I have to really build it up, but it works. The blush looks beautiful. It works. The highlighter, also absolutely beautiful. Or more of a natural kind of highlighter, but I enjoy that. The setting powder also, as you could see, it works. And then the 3 eyeshadow tones, which is all I have in my eyes. Now, I know a lot of people don't like, and I know there's There's a lot of people out there that need that darker outer corner. I'm okay with what I see right now. If you just need to jump into a different palette or maybe use a little bit of eyeliner on your outer corner, you can fix that problem. But for me, this looks perfect. So this is like a complete full face for me right here. And I wish she would bring this back. Just give us more choices, because the 2 that she gave us was not enough. But yeah, I totally think this was worth my $75, and you can clearly see, because of how much it has been loved and used, that I do really enjoy this. All right, my lovelies, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was fun finding all of my face palettes. I'm pretty sure that's it. I mean, I do have the Natasha Denona bronzer and highlighter duo, so that technically is a face palette. I don't think I have any cream face palettes, not that I can think of. I feel like when it comes to face palettes, they could be such a game changer, but it doesn't always work out that way for everybody. You know, I feel like if you're in the light medium to maybe medium category, it almost always works out for you. But if you're in the fair to light, or if you're in the tan to deep, then it also always doesn't work out. So I'm just lucky that I lie in the skin tones where there will always be a lot of choices, you know? Not everyone is as lucky, and that's why face palettes can be so tricky. Yeah, I have been wanting to do this video and just dig through my collection and look at all of the face palettes that I own and talk about my favorites. And as you can see, there's only 2. I mean, they're all absolutely amazing and I love them all, but the 2 that I mentioned, I feel are the ones where I fell in love with the palette, the formula, everything about it. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. Again, I appreciate every single one of you. You have no idea. All the comments, all the likes. If you use my links to shop, it truly all does mean the world to me. I would love to know if you own any of the face palettes that I mentioned, or if you have any face palettes that I didn't mention that you absolutely love. Go ahead and comment down below in the comment section. And with that being said, do not forget to give the video a big thumbs up. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And I will see you all on my next video. Bye.